and I'll wait until I get somebody confirming that they can hear us before I get started. So yeah, just let us know if you can hear me.
Okay, and let's see now, all the messages from the audience will appear in the right-hand side of our window.
Improved after I threw away all my eggs. Here's why.
If you are struggling
what was that?
and you've also been prescribed
Wait a second. That is muted.
I guess it wasn't.
Okay.
Okay, so I see somebody saying yes, we can hear.
Okay.
All right, so
I'm not seeing it there.
We'll get started then. And Sam, we might have a little bit of a delay from what we're saying to what you see on your other screen as well.
Well, you know what? Now that I know we're on, I'm turning my phone off.
Okay. All right. Mandy could be a bit louder. Let's see what I can do about that. Okay. I turned myself up. Let's see if that's any better.
Okay. And check 1, check 2 on Sam's microphone.
Yep. Okay. We look good. All right. And sound good, I guess I should say. Hi, I'm Mandy, and it's my pleasure to be interviewing today Mr. Sam Edelston. And I just want to say that before we get started here, these interviews are awesome. I love doing them. And it is so fun for me to get to interview all these great performers on the mountain dulcimer. It's just a treat. So welcome, Mr. Sam Edelston. Please just say hi and give us a little background.
Okay. Hi there, Mandy. Hello there, Dulcimer world. Let's see. How much background should I give you? I have been playing the mountain dulcimer seriously since 2004 when we started the Nutmeg Dulcimer Festival in Connecticut. Before that, I was a guitar player, and then I also became a hammered dulcimer player. And it was as a hammered dulcimer player that I became the founding chair of Nutmeg. And being into fingerstyle fancy guitar stuff, I at the time thought, well, 3 strings missing 1/3 of the teeth, how interesting can the mountain dulcimer be? And so I just didn't take the instrument very seriously for 30 years of being aware of it. And wow. then when we decided we were going to start a festival, I was already going to the Cranberry Dulcimer Gathering as a hammered dulcimer instructor. And I went to all of the mountain dulcimer booths and tried out everything in the room in my price range, and wound up buying something very sweet from Ron Ewing. And I'm sure I played My Old Kentucky Home. I'm sure I played Old Joe Clark and You Are My Sunshine. But the first 2 songs I remember playing on it were Mellow Yellow and Bang a Gong.
That's hilarious.
And at that moment, I realized that the mountain dulcimer was a lot more interesting than I had ever given it credit for being.
Nice.
I call that my green eggs and ham moment.
Oh yeah, very nice. Well, let's go back a little further. Go back a little further. So, did you have any music interests growing up, or any lessons?
So as a kid, my mother got me into piano lessons in 4th grade.
Okay. Nice.
And I was an unexceptional piano student for 5 years. But during the 5th year, I started making up songs. And I would sort of go down to the piano and I'd bang out with the chords in the left hand and chords in the right hand and chords in both hands at the same time. And a couple days later, I got an idea for another song. And so I started banging that one with left hand and right hand chords. And within a couple of weeks, I had 6 songs. And the piano was right outside of the kitchen. And so playing the piano bang, bang, bang was not quite the same as playing for release on it. And so my parents suggested that maybe I should try my father's crummy old nylon string guitar. And I was taught how to tune it, and I was taught how to read the Melbay chord diagrams. And I stopped practicing piano so much and developed a 10-song-a-month songwriting habit.
Wow, 10 songs a month.
I wrote my 400th song in April of my senior year of high school.
Wow.
And I also started listening to the radio, and I found the pop radio station, so I was learning everything in the top 40. I found the oldies station, so I learned everything from the 50s and 60s and up to that early point in the 70s. And I found the country station, so I was learning all of the current and also some classic country.
Wow.
And I would, on the guitar, I would play like I would play doo-wops, but Earth Angel was in F, and Come Go With Me was in G, and Teen Angel was in C, and You Cheated, You Lied was in A. And so I would learn all of the different doo-wops in different keys.
And now, are you saying you would learn them finger style or strumming, or both?
Well, that's a really interesting question, because initially I was strumming. And one day, I guess I was trying to figure out a little bit with my fingers, but I don't specifically remember that. One day I had my great songs of the 60s out on the table in front of me, and I looked down and realized I was Travis picking to the last thing on my mind.
Oh, nice.
When Travis picking was indeed the last thing on my mind at that moment.
But that's a great skill. Really, lots of people desire to be able to do that on the guitar. So you have a very, a variety. Do you play other instruments besides what you've already mentioned?
So guitar was my first serious instrument. I'm not counting piano.
Right.
And then I bought a banjo with the idea that I would learn to play bluegrass.
Yep.
And I bought the Earl Scruggs picking book, and I bought the Pete Seeger banjo book.
Yep.
And I never got the hang of the Scruggs style bluegrass banjo on banjo, though I learned the concept. I became a clawhammer banjo player.
Nice.
And I pick a mean Cripple Creek and mean old Joe Clark, and everything else in the world is just permutations of that.
Right.
It's
awesome.
It's like every whole number is a multiple of prime numbers, right? Same thing.
Yeah. Okay. Any other instruments?
And I mean, I can play a little bit of harmonica, but not enough to perform with. I can play, or at least not seriously perform with. I can play it. I can pick out a couple of tunes on the penny whistle. I can play a little bit of miscellaneous percussion. But my four instruments that I have performed on for real are guitar, banjo, hammer dulcimer, and mountain dulcimer.
Nice.
And I should confess that that at some point I realized that it takes a lot less time to tune a mountain dulcimer than a hammer dulcimer.
Oh yeah.
And also, the tunes on the hammer dulcimer that interest me the most are the ones that are complex enough that I can't perform them with 99% confidence under the spotlight when my 95 string hammer dulcimer has 285 strings.
Yeah, that's wow. That just blows my mind. How many strings those things have?
Yeah, I mean, it truly is only 95, but the spotlight makes it triple.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, so before we get too far into this, I want to say, everybody go check out Sam's website after we're done here. It's samthemusicman.com, and you'll see it pinned to the top in the chat. Just head on over and check out his website. He's got a lot of really cool stuff on there that you will find very interesting.
I hasten to add on that I did not name the website. I always feel a little bit funny saying, Sam the Music Man. What about all the other musicians named Sam? But my wife named it. I didn't.
Well, that's okay. I think it's a great name. I think it's
a
good
name.
name. Yeah,
It's memorable.
It is. It's very catchy. And it leaves you open, unlike the name that I happen to choose. It leaves you open to all different instruments and all different stuff like that. So that was a great choice.
I do have a section of the page where I talk about hammer dulcimers. Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about what events you have coming up that are in-person events, and what kind of lessons and workshops you are offering as well.
Okay, so I have a couple of in-person things coming up, and I also have a couple of online things coming up, and they're all seriously cool. The first thing in person actually is, I mentioned the Nutmeg Dulcimer Festival. It took us 15 years, but we finally started a club associated with the festival. So anybody that's in, the Connecticut area, we are on the. If this piece of paper is Connecticut, we're located here, right along the south coast of it, and we get together one Sunday a month, and it's going to be this coming Sunday from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Just reach out to me through the contact form on my website, and I'll be happy to send you the information on it. Again, that's this Sunday.
Nice.
On Saturday, October 1st, we are going to have the Nutmeg Dulcimer Festival back in person for the first time in 3 years. We are doing a special format this year because live events all over the place are having low attendance, for understandable reasons. And so we are right sizing the festival, but doing it in a really interesting way. And you're going to like what we're doing with it. Normally, in a normal year, it's a Friday, Saturday festival. We have 55 workshops and about 20 instructors, including a couple of featured performers. This year, it's going to be just the one-day Saturday. We're going to have 4 featured artists who will be teaching and then playing a concert at the end. And the plan is to get everybody finished by dinner time, so people can even skip the motel if they live in the area. And the 4 featured artists, I'll tell you the hammered dulcimer side first, so you don't get so excited you miss the mountain dulcimer side. So on hammered dulcimer, we're going to have Tina Bergman and Timothy Seaman.
Nice.
Both wonderful teachers and wonderful performers. I've met both of them. I've seen them both perform many times, and I'm really excited to have both of them on board. On mountain dulcimer, I don't think I need to give a lot of description to this. Bing Futch and Dave Haas.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Very nice.
It's going to be great. And by the way, Nutmeg was actually Bing's. We had Bing at Nutmeg in our 4th year, 2007, and we were his first gig in the Northeast. So
Nice.
I have been loving watching all of the great things that have happened to Bing since then, and what a varied and dynamic and interesting performer and top-notch instructor he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know Dave quite as well. I've met him through Kentucky Music Week and seen him through Quarantine, and I have tremendous respect for him also. I know how many people love him as a teacher and performer as well.
Yes.
And he's a bit of a Pied Piper when it comes to jamming as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
and,
so you've got.
And we're going to have some kind of jamming at Nutmeg, because you can do that in person in a way you can't do it online.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, so what else have you got going on after Nutmeg?
So the next thing in person that I've got on the calendar, this just got mentioned on their website this week, so I can talk about it. Colorado Dulcimer Festival, next May, 4th, 5th, and 6th, the first weekend of the month. I was one of the instructors there in 2020, right before the pandemic stopped everything. At that time, they were in February, and now they've moved to May, and I'm just delighted to be back.
Nice. What will you be teaching? What will you be teaching there?
Mountain Dulcimer, I don't know specific topics yet.
Okay.
But I promise whatever they are, they will be fun.
Oh, of course. And then you have an online workshop coming up soon, right?
I've got an online 6-week course coming up, starting this coming Thursday. We're going to be doing Rock Your Dulcimer. So it's songs from the rock and roll era, or techniques and how to play music from the rock and roll era. And the theme this time is going to be, this is the 3rd time I've done a Rock Your Dulcimer course. And the first 2 times it was varied topics, ranging from bubblegum pop to heavy metal. And this time it's going to be themed around songwriters. And I'm not talking about the popular singer-songwriters. It's not going to be Elton John songs by Elton John. It's not going to be about Billy Joel songs or stuff like that. It's going to be songwriters talking about the songs that they wrote for other people. And
nice.
So Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller wrote so many of the seminal songs from the 50s, the Elvis songs, and and the Coasters and Benny King and people like that. So we're going to talk about how to play Lieber and Stoller music. Carole King and Jerry Goffin, so many great girl groups from the 60s, and so many other great songs by more people than you'd ever realize. It took me years to know that she did anything before Tapestry.
Nice.
And so we're going to talk about, I mean, she even wrote Natural Woman, that was a big hit for Aretha Franklin, So really just all over the place. We're going to talk about Shel Silverstein, who technically isn't really a rock songwriter. His songs were mostly on the country charts, but he's one of my favorites. So instructor's choice there. I love Shel Silverstein because of his sense of humor, and also because he does serious songs that can just run a chill right down my spine.
And what do they need? Do you have any prerequisites for the course as far as frets or anything like that? Do they need to be an advanced player or?
Great question. So I'm leveling it as intermediate to advanced.
Okay.
If somebody's sort of a novice and is really eager to take it, they should reach out to me, and I'll tell them what I'll give them a little one-off so that they can know what they need to know in order to survive. The good thing here is that these songs, this music can be played in layers. So you can play almost any song that we're going to talk about, just strumming the chords if you understand how to play chords. Or you can superimpose a melody on top of chords if you're into that. Or you can just play the melody and let somebody else play the rhythm part. So you can really make it a very advanced thing, or you can make it a very approachable thing. But it's intended for intermediate and up. But I can bring in a high novice if they're interested in the subject, if they understand chords, things like that.
And do they need a specific frets or?
So I'm going to be teaching it with the 1.5 and 8.5 frets in mind. But when we use a 1.5 fret, I will give workarounds almost all the time. I'll be able to provide a workaround for people that don't have one.
Okay.
And when we look at things in a particular key, I'm going to be choosing the keys with the frets in mind.
Okay. Nice. Okay, we have a question, so I'm going to see if I can put that on the screen. And if you do have a question for Sam, just jot it down below in the comments, and we'll get to it as we can. Lori asks, Sam plays so many instruments, but what is his favorite?
Which one is in my lap at the moment?
Yeah. Good answer.
But I do most of my performing on the mountain dulcimer. I'll give you an example. I had a gig recently at a coffeehouse concert series in New Jersey, and I was the featured artist. I had 2 45-minute sets, and basically 2/3 to 3/4 of what I did was on the mountain dulcimers. But I played 3 different mountain dulcimers in the gig.
Well, yeah, I understand that. Probably different tunings, different frets. You might have a chromatic, right?
Yeah. So tunings and fret configurations are a great topic. For that gig, I had a standard chromatic and a baritone chromatic, and also what I call a semi-chromatic. My go-to setup is a 0+, 1+, 8+. And
oh, nice.
Of course, also a 6+ and 13+.
Yes.
But
nice.
The first year we did Nutmeg, Heidi Saragoni did a 1.5 fret workshop, and so I understood that was an important thing. The second year we did Nutmeg, Karen Mueller was our featured mountain dulcimer artist, and she was telling me about all the cool things a 0+ gives her. And so the next dulcimer I got, I added a 0+ also, and now my original first dulcimer, I got the 0+ added to that also.
Oh, nice. So how many years have you been having the Nutmeg Festival now?
So every year since 2004. So that means that 22 is going to be our 19th annual.
Nice.
And the past 2 years we were virtual. It's good to be back in our body again.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so I've got another question for you. Let me pop that up here. Victor asks, what was your first time professionally performing, and what did you play?
Okay, I'm not quite sure how to interpret professional. I actually, last year, about year and some months ago, we sold the family business, and so I did declare myself a full-time musician. So
I would say you got paid for it would probably be
okay,
professional.
and that's what I thought it was going to be. And my first paid gig was for the youth group at the synagogue that my family belonged to. And I had been playing guitar for something like 6 months, and I played um, I think it was 6 songs, and I got paid $8. And if I recall, let's see, Blue Suede Shoes was on the set list. I think Hound Dog might have been on the set list.
Wow.
Um, um, it was that kind of songs that I had no business doing with the nylon string guitar I was playing at the time.
Okay, well let's make it then dulcimer specific. When was your first time professionally performing dulcimer specific, and what did you play? Do you remember that?
It's been a continuum. I started teaching at dulcimer festivals. I was teaching at the Cranberry Dulcimer Gathering on hammer dulcimer for a good number of years. Cranberry was a wonderful festival that unfortunately no longer exists. And one year, might have been 2005 or 6, I actually, as a hammer dulcimer workshop leader, I did perform my song in the instructor's concert on mountain dulcimer, and I believe I did. It was one of the songs from Bye Bye Birdie. Now, was it Honestly Sincere or was it One Last Kiss? I think it might have been Honestly Sincere.
Okay,
But
nice.
a couple of years later, I started teaching. I had so much background on guitar that I really was only a beginner on mountain dulcimer for a couple of days. And
Yeah,
because I'm a chord player, I'm a strummer.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I progressed rather quickly there and started teaching within a couple of years at Cranberry and then at other festivals also.
Okay, great. And let's see, we've got another question.
Oh, I'll tell you one other thing. So the first time I performed, the first time I taught at the Albany Mountain Dulcimer Music Festival, which is a great mountain dulcimer festival that does still exist.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, I guess I got 2 songs in the concert. And I remembered opening up my 2-song set by saying, one thing that we don't hear enough of on the mountain dulcimer is opera. And so.
Yeah.
And so I played a song from the Pirates of Penzance,
Nice.
with Cat-Like Tread.
Nice.
And I
Very
think
nice.
I might have also done Pinball Wizard. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, we've got a question from John. Does his wife?
Hi, John.
Does his wife play any instruments, and do y'all get to play together?
So the whole family is musical. My wife is the daughter of a music teacher, and so my father-in-law was a drummer, and I still have his vibraphone in our basement. But my wife's main instrument was piano, and she also sings. She sings in an a cappella group even to this day.
Awesome.
And so because of that, she got the whole family into a cappella.
Nice.
And I have somebody mentioned War Pigs in the
yes
in the chat. War Pigs is not one I learned from a cappella, but the other Ozzy Osbourne song that I performed, Crazy Train, I first heard on a Best of College a cappella CD probably 10 years ago.
Wow, that a cappella, that's cool.
Yes. Oh, dynamite stuff. And I'm a musical omnivore. So I don't just get inspired. I love folk music. I'll jam until 4 o'clock in the morning on fiddle tunes. But the folk played popular music just as I do. It's just that when you didn't have cars and you didn't have computers, popular was what your neighbors and your kin played, right?
Absolutely.
So everybody in your neighborhood played Spotted Pony. You played Spotted Pony.
Yes, that's right.
And so I heard Crazy Train, and I thought, hey, that would be a cool song to play. And so I played Crazy Train. And
Awesome.
I heard War Pigs on the radio one day in the car and thought, hey, that would really work on a mountain dulcimer. I went home that night, I tried it, and it took some work to get it smooth, but the basic concept was arranged within a day.
Wow. All right, now
For
I
those
want to move into.
for those who
I
don't
wanna-
know what War Pigs is, that was a Black Sabbath song about 1969. That was sort of an anti-Vietnam War song.
Yeah. I want to move into all of the electronic stuff you do and stuff like that. But first, I want to say you have at least one song that I know of that went viral. So tell us a little bit about that on your YouTube too. Okay.
Okay.
Tell us a little
Well,
bit about that.
I do need to backtrack and talk about the electronic stuff.
Well, I think that'll just
Yeah,
lead right into it.
because that's going to lead into it.
Yeah.
So our fourth year of Nutmeg, we had Robert Force as a featured artist the previous year.
Uh-huh.
And Robert was willing to come back again in 07, the fourth year, just as a workshop leader for the amount of money that we're able to afford to pay workshop leaders, because he had family in the region. And
Nice.
so Robert said to me, hey, I've got a prototype electric dulcimer I'm working on developing with a builder. Would it be okay for me to bring it out and get your thoughts on it? And I said, well, I don't know anything about electric instruments, but I'll be happy to give it a try. And so
Wow.
he came with this electric dulcimer, and it looked like his classic teardrop with a little sort of narrowing down at the bottom. So if you've ever seen Robert play mountain dulcimer, it looked just like that. And I don't remember whether it had 4 strings or his usual 6, but the action was like butter. The string gauges were light. He had a very small, little portable amp with it, and it was just so easy to play and so much fun to play. And I had a couple of little bits of feedback for the builder, if you put the control knobs where you have them, then my pick is going to hit it. So how about putting it on the bottom side? And I may have had one other comment, and I said, you know what, I want one of these too.
Nice.
And when the instrument finally came, because it took a while for the first batch to get finished, Robert got number 1 of 9. I got number 2 of 9. And it was so much fun to play. And the fretboard was just a little bit higher than I was accustomed to. And so I basically played Wellen, which is the most appropriate thing to play on a Robert Force dulcimer. Wellen is a tune that Robert wrote. And I never understood it till I played it on a stand and played it plugged in and played it till my finger bled.
That's awesome.
So once you have electric instruments, of course, you need pedals to go with them. Wow.
Yeah.
And so I started getting pedals, and I went to my local music store and, okay, what do I need? Well, I tried out a bunch of, they had a big display of pedals by a company called Boss, B-O-S-S. And so I came home with an overdrive and an auto wah, because wah, 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 that type of sound every time you strum it.
Right.
And I started having fun with those. And then I went out and bought another pedal, and then I bought another pedal. I think I've got 25 or 30 pedals now.
Wow.
So, and now the bad thing is, actually, it's not truly bad, but you know what I mean. The bad thing is that the builder was Rod Matheson of Washington State. He unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. But Rod wired my dulcimer in stereo.
Wow.
Which meant I've got 2 output channels.
Yeah. Nice.
Which meant I could send one pickup through one set of pedals with, let's say, overdrive and distortion and a wah-wah, and a second pickup through the other set of pedals with, let's say, an auto wah and some sustain and a phase shift and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so that second channel, I was able to set the pedals in a way that sort of spread the sound out over time. And it sounded a bit like a full spectrum wall of sound.
Nice.
And meanwhile, the first channel, which had an overdrive, and I forgot to say an octave pedal, I had it set in a way that brought out the melody without cluttering it up by the fact that I had also thickened up the bass strings.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And so it sounded like I was playing 2 or 3 instruments at once.
Wow.
And I'll shortcut the story because I know we only have half an hour left. But about 6 weeks later, somebody played me on the radio show.
Oh, nice.
And like 3 days later, I was at work and I was checking my email, and I had a bunch of comments, notifications from YouTube about like so-and-so commented on your video of Whole Lot of Love.
Yeah.
So commented, and I'm not accustomed to having lots of more than one comment in a day on videos, right? And so I went into YouTube, and sure enough, all of a sudden I had 4,000 views.
Nice. Yeah.
I didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
And I went home that night and tried to start figuring it out. And apparently I had gotten a couple of big shares, probably touched off by somebody hearing it on that radio show.
Nice.
And so there was a band that had 75,000 followers that shared it.
Oh.
And there was one of those sort of content aggregator sites. Actually, there were a couple. It was wimp.com. And then a couple of days later, a place called cheeseburger.com.
Yeah.
They had fun with their names. And so basically, it just sort of went viral to the tune of tens of thousands of views in just the span of a few days.
And what song is this in particular, or is it?
That was "Whole Lot of Love" by Led Zeppelin.
Whole Lot of Love. Okay.
The funniest thing was sometime later when it started making the rounds in Japan, and all of a sudden my Twitter feed was showing Japanese characters. Everything said the same thing. And I clicked for translation. It said, "Grandpa plays Led Zeppelin "Whole Lot of Love" on dulcimer." I was impressed that they had a word for dulcimer, but Grandpa was.
Well, that's awesome. So you said you had 2. So what was the other one?
Right. So then in, I guess it was 2019, I posted a video of "I Want to Be Sedated," the Ramones song.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I had done anything particularly unusual with it. I mean, if you know the song, there's a key change in the middle of it, and I did a key change on it properly. But it's just a fun song, and I just didn't realize what a classic it was, and it took off immediately. Great. And so each of those songs has over 300,000 views on YouTube.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's amazing to me that somebody can go down to his basement and just record something, and if it works, if it's got the sound that people love, if it's got the visual that people love, then it just takes off. Think of Ted Yoder on Hammer Dulcimer a few years ago.
Oh yeah, I know. I saw that.
He went out to his orchard in the backyard, and he played a song that he had only learned that morning or so, and the next morning he had 30,000 views. And by 2 days later, he was getting 1 million views an hour on that. Yeah,
it's amazing the way social media works. But
and by the way, it is a cosmic gift that this virality thing. You can't ask for it. You can't try to make. You can do things that might increase your odds, but you can't make it happen. The universe bestows it to you as a gift, and I am daily grateful for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's see. We've got another question.
We've got a couple of questions here.
Let's see. We've got Jason asking, "What's the first song you play when you pick up a new mountain dulcimer?"
Well, that totally depends. I was at Kentucky Music Week about 5 years ago, and at somebody's table, there was this little mini dulcimer, a little soprano dulcimer, and I saw it on the table, and I did the one thing that I absolutely had to do. I played The Witch Doctor, the old David Seville and the Chipmunk song.
Yes.
And it's one of only 2 times. one of only 2 times in my life I've bought an instrument based on a single song.
Yeah.
I said, I've got to have that. How much does it cost? Can you add a couple of frets for me? And so I had that one in my possession by the end of the day.
Oh, that's neat.
But really, it totally depends. Sometimes I'll just strum the instrument and see what it sounds like. If it doesn't have special frets on it, I might do something as basic as a fiddle tune, or I might play fascinating rhythm, the Gershwin thing. If it's a chromatic dulcimer, I might be in a mood for something slow and mellow, or I might be in the mood for Bohemian Rhapsody, whatever.
Exactly. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I have another question about these pop songs and things that you do. Have you ever tried Eddie Van Halen's solo on Beat It? Have you ever tried that?
No, I haven't.
I was just curious.
I do a bit of tapping. My tappiest thing actually is the instrumental break on my Crazy Train video.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I have played about 7 measures of eruption.
Nice.
As a tapping exercise. I've taught like something based on 7 measures of eruption as a tapping exercise in the workshop.
Nice.
But Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen was I'm not going to say from another planet, but his skills were just extraordinary, and it takes a lot of work to get to that level.
Oh yeah, for sure. I just had to throw that out there and see though, because you're one of the very few people that I know of that play this kind of music on a dulcimer, so I had to ask it. Okay, so I've seen videos where you're standing up. I've seen videos where you're sitting down. What do you prefer?
If I'm performing on stage, I very much prefer standing because you control the stage better, and it's better for voice production.
Right.
If I'm just practicing at home, I'll sit. A couple of my videos, like Chandelier and Foggy Mountain Breakdown, both are videos that I shot sitting for various reasons.
Nice. Okay. Let's see. We've got another question from Richard. Not counting YouTube, what is the largest audience size gig you have played?
Okay, I'm also not going to count the time that I competed at Winfield on fingerstyle guitar.
Well,
I don't know if this is the largest, but I know a couple of weeks ago I played this Beatles festival in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Nice.
Called Fab Fest, and for the main featured concert, it was a 1,400 seat theater. There were at least 1,000 people there.
Wow.
And it was an amazing experience. The whole weekend was amazing.
Nice.
Anybody within range of Charlotte, North Carolina, put Fab Fest on your agenda for next July.
Nice. And
I played Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. My dulcimer was on my metal stand, and I had 2 pedal boards underneath it.
Nice. Wow. I can't even imagine all that electronic stuff. I'm such a baby in that aspect. I don't mess with. I don't dabble in that too much. Let's see. We've got another question. Great job with these questions, you guys. Mark asks, any tips for a UK-based newbie on mountain dulcimer maintenance, especially when playing outside?
Mark, what do you mean by maintenance? If you could give a little bit of information on what you're looking for.
Yeah. Let's see.
I mean, I'll say that when it comes to maintenance, I have not gone out and learned any of the skills related to fixing a crack or doing fret work or anything like that. If I need to get a fret raised or lowered, I'll talk to a builder at a festival. If I need to get a crack fixed, I'll take it to a builder or at the very least to a luthier who feels comfortable working on the dulcimer.
Right, right.
As far as strings are concerned, I tend to be a little bit lazy. I'll change a bass string when the winding starts going through. I'll change the unwound strings when they start sounding dead enough to me. I kind of like a mellow sound on the instrument for my own music.
Yeah.
I like the sort of country folky sound of dulcimers, but for my own playing, what I do is I tend to like a mellower sound. So to keep strings in tune, the first thing I do is have a really good tuner. My preference is these snark extra tights, but the snarks have a habit of breaking on the collar. This one here, they finally came out with a reinforced collar, which I'm very happy about, because I've had several of them break on the collar or break on the neck.
Yeah.
So the Addario has a clip-on tuner that I also kind of like. That's just very low profile and clips onto the peg head. So having a good tuner is one of the first things to do. Second thing is if you find that your strings are getting out of tune, check to see if the wound string is getting is fraying on the winding. If the strings just sound dull, you can change the strings. There is a string changing tool, by the way, that has a peg winder and clipper all in one, and makes things just a little bit easier.
Right.
And then also, if you have a movable bridge, which a couple of my dulcimers have, then you want to be sure that your bridge is in the proper place.
Absolutely. Yeah, good advice.
And also Mark, you're in the UK, so Dan Evans is probably your local expert on other detailed things on the mountain dulcimer for things like that.
I was going to ask you, do you have a preference in string gauge when you're playing electric versus non-electric?
Okay. So first of all, I own a total of 11 dulcimers.
Nice.
And they have, and because of different scale lengths and different tunings and things like that, I have 10 different combinations of string gauges among the instruments.
Wow.
I have discovered in general, I kind of enjoy playing the lighter gauges in general, most of the time. So if I'm just playing a normal strumming song, especially on electric, then I will play a lighter gauge of string, and I'll use a medium pick. I like the Fender teardrops or the equivalent medium. And then if pick noise is an issue, I like the Dunlop 1mm black nylon picks, because the nylon picks have less noise than the plastic ones. When I'm playing my standard acoustic ones, and I see Folkcraft put a note in the chat about 11 as a good starter collection. That's for the high string. By the way, I play almost exclusively in 1-5/8 tuning, D-A-D, baritones, A-E-A. My Folkcraft dulcimer is CGC because better key for me to sing in. So most of my dulcimers, my standard range dulcimers, are 12s or 11s. The electric ones, though, I've got a 10 on the high string. And so the electric ones will go a little bit lighter. And then my baritones, I'll use extra heavy pick. Actually, the ones I use most of are Dunlop Ultex, like the 1.0 or the 1.14s.
Nice. Wow, that's interesting. We've got another question that has popped up here from Victor. He asks, how many dulcimer / music festivals have you been to, and which one was the most memorable?
Oh gosh. Well, let's see. So first of all, I belong to an organization in New Jersey called the Folk Project, which has a twice-a-year festival that I've been going to since 1977 or so. And so that's 80 of them right there.
Wow.
Actually, I guess getting closer to 90 of them right there. And then going to, let's quit. I don't know. I go to several in-person festivals in any normal year. So I've been to easily 250 or 300 festivals of some sort in my lifetime.
Nice.
And so many of them have been so special for so many different reasons. First of all, the Nutmeg Dulcimer Festival, my mission is always to make it something unforgettable.
Right.
Because I want to show people something they've never seen before. And that's just our thing at Nutmeg. Many of the neighboring festivals feature an artist, then we won't book that artist for several years. Because we want to not be following what other people have just done.
Right.
So other music festivals that have been memorable, I think of some of the things that I've done at Winfield at Tutai, the 3 times I've been there. Having been to Carp Camp for the jam and getting to sit in the center, having them play it, surround the Carp Camp virgins with music.
Nice.
It's an incredible experience. Getting to meet people from all over the country was an incredible experience. That Beatles festival a couple of weeks ago, I got a huge ovation for that song.
Awesome.
I got one song in the featured concert plus a half-hour set during the day, but that song with 1,000 people.
Wow.
So many different great experiences. I once got to accompany John McCutcheon, not at a festival, but the night after. He was on a radio show, Bound for Glory in Ithaca, New York, and I went up and backed him. This was in 1980 or 81. Backed him on guitar for a few fiddle tunes. So just all kinds of incredible memories from festivals over the years.
Oh, that's awesome. And does your family travel with you or go with you to most of these, or are?
So, well, my kids are grown; they're out of the house. So I've got my wife and I go to the Folk Project Festival together. She's more she's more toward the singing side, and she's not really particularly into dulcimers. I have a very wonderful wife, and I love her dearly, and I appreciate the fact that she tolerates my dulcimer habit.
Oh yeah.
But one of my kids actually does concert lighting for, in many cases, people that we grew up listening to.
Yeah, neat.
And has done venues with thousands of people in the audience. My youngest daughter went to Berklee College of Music, and she's a singer-songwriter.
Awesome.
Some people will know her from her teaching at Nutmeg Dulcimer Festival the past 2 years. I've had her teaching songwriting and singing, and she's just a natural teacher, as she is a natural musician.
Awesome.
And she's got the talent. She needs the breaks. And then my son actually does not have a career in the arts. He's a computer programmer, but he plays 6 instruments.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I love that. Hearing about a family that's just full of musicians. Yeah. That's really cool.
And it's funny because it's mostly parallel play. We usually don't perform together. We've done things together on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, that is awesome. Do you have any memorable things you can share with us about maybe some kind of occasion where you performed with your family or did something with your family? Okay, so my kids all went to a creative and performing arts camp up in Connecticut called Bucks Rock Camp. And every year toward the end of the summer, they have something called the Tribute Show. And this particular year, I think the theme that they were doing was female musicians. And this was the summer, it was 2014, I guess, when I had just gone viral with Whole Lotta Love. And the chief music counselor knew that I had gone viral with the dulcimer. And so she arranged for my daughter Julie to be performing time after time with me playing the dulcimer. Nice. And that's that awesome. Was a special thrill. Oh, yeah. I'm sure it was. Wow. Oh, That is really cool. I there's something heartwarming and just, I don't know, you can't describe it, performing something with your family, even if it's the smallest little thing.
Right.
It doesn't have to be, a huge thing. It's just so great.
Right.
The feeling,
Right.
from it.
Yes. And the other thing is, everybody else in that concert was performing on guitar or piano, or there might have been some violins someplace,
Yeah.
but it was the usual instrument. And so I was playing the dulcimer there and showing people another instrument that belongs in popular culture. And
Yes.
Cyndi Lauper performs on the mountain dulcimer sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm told she has even been known to lecture her audience about dulcimers. And
Nice.
And I have a philosophy about. Oops, is my audio having trouble?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try switching microphones. Hang on just a second.
Okay.
Let's try this microphone instead. Okay, is this better? Check 1, check 2, check 3, check 4.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
Okay, so basically, I believe that dulcimers belong in popular music. That DAD tuning, you got built-in power chords.
Right.
You can play. Okay, I'll talk a little bit closer to the microphone and see if that helps. So you've got built-in power chords. You've got built-in. It's just very natural to me to play popular music on the instrument, and it's a more logical first stringed instrument to me than the guitar, because it's got many strings.
Yeah.
And it's got, again, typically fewer notes. The mistake notes aren't there for most people.
Right.
And so there should be millions of kids begging their parents, not for a guitar, there should be millions of kids begging their parents for a dulcimer for Christmas or for their birthday.
Yes, I completely agree.
And the only reason that hasn't happened yet is that they're not hearing it in popular music. And part of that, by the way, I think, is that so many dulcimer festivals and folk festivals don't get the ASCAP and BMI licenses.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost terribly much to get those licenses. Nutmeg gets licenses for ASCAP and BMI. And so we do our bit to spread the use of the instrument in popular music. And it's part of our mission.
Yeah, yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's hard. It is hard to break out, especially on that instrument that is seen as only one dimensional. I mean, it is not seen as a popular music, let alone heavy metal that you play on it too.
Remember,
that is awesome.
in 1900, popular music didn't include guitars.
Yeah, yeah.
Guitars didn't really get into pop. Yeah, banjos and mandolins. My college had a banjo and mandolin orchestra in 1900.
Yeah.
But
that's crazy.
Guitars didn't really get big till they got electrified in the 50s.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Do you have a favorite type of pickup, or a specific pickup and type of pickup? I know there's different types.
I'm an end user. I don't have the technical knowledge on that.
Oh, okay.
But I can tell you that the last dulcimer that I bought, I specifically wanted it to be chromatic. I specifically wanted to tune it CGC, and I specifically wanted it to have great pickups. And I remembered, this isn't a commercial. It's not a paid announcement. But I remembered when Richard Ash announced that the Folkcraft had this new pickup that he had worked with a pickup company and developed at great length and great pains. And so I called up Richard and said, it's time for me to order a dulcimer from you.
And you're talking about the NT11, right? The magnetic, right?
I'm talking about this one here. That's the NT11?
Yeah.
Okay, then yes.
It's a magnetic pickup, yeah.
And it's got stuff on the side of the instrument.
Yep.
And
Your preamp.
then, yep. And then I guess this is for the bridge pickup, right?
No. The bridge
No,
pickup is for
this-
your preamp, and then I think that is for that magnetic pickup right there.
Okay.
I do believe.
Whatever the case, the volume knob goes up to 11, folks.
Yep.
So it's a very sweet dulcimer. Anybody that heard the little promo video with me playing, that was this dulcimer, but I didn't have the pickup plugged in for that.
Yeah.
But I've done a couple of videos with this dulcimer.
Nice. Is there anything that you'd like to share with us, that maybe we didn't ask you or didn't think to say that you'd like us to know about?
I managed to get in all of the points that were really important to me. Are there additional questions? Oh, thank you for the explanation there. I do sort of get mixed up which one is which. I should label them. Okay. Are there any other questions from the crowd there? We've got a couple of minutes left.
Yeah, we do have a few minutes. In the meantime, though, how do you find people's reactions? I know you talked about the Beatles, where you played the Beatles song. Your reaction was amazing. But when you're out and about, maybe not at a festival per se, but somewhere where you're playing the dulcimer and someone might hear you that is not accustomed to hearing that type of music on it, do you get any funny reactions?
Well, actually, so I'll give you a story. I mentioned the Folk Project Festival earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I was at that several years ago, and I was just in the jam upstairs with a bunch of people playing instruments, or maybe I was just messing around by myself or something. And one of the featured artists went by and sort of, his head turned and he riveted to it, and it was Little Rev.
Oh yeah.
And he did not play the dulcimer yet.
Oh.
And we spent some time jamming, and he was having a blast with it. And he asked me to join him for one of the songs in his concert set. And
Nice.
I understand that I was one of the inspirations for him taking up the dulcimer. And
What a great story! Yeah,
and that is
awesome.
that is a great honor, because he's just such a musician, and he brings ukulele techniques to the instrument. So he's got some special sauce that other players don't have.
Yeah, and is he in the UK? I think he's in the UK, right?
Little Rev, he's in Wisconsin.
Oh, he's in Wisconsin. Where did I get that from? Oh well, sorry about that.
Yeah. And the most interesting players are the ones who figured it out for themselves.
Yeah.
So Bing figured it out for himself.
Yeah.
Rev figured it out for himself, and he brought the uke techniques to it.
Right.
I was aware of stuff, but I ignored the stuff. So I sort of chose my own path.
Right.
Chris Januet totally figured out for himself. He didn't even know that the dulcimer was an American instrument. He thought it was a Breton instrument. He's from Brittany.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I believe we're coming to the end of this thing. So it has been my pleasure to interview you today. You've got like about a minute left if there's anything else you want to let us know about.
Find music that you'll love and try it. Whenever somebody says, what is that you're playing? I'll say, what kind, or what can it do? I'll say, what kinds of music do you love?
Yeah,
and
that's right.
If they say I like country, I'll play them country. If they say that they like Motown, I'll play them Motown. If they say they like metal, I'll play them metal. Which one of my dulcimers do I like best? Which one is in my lap at the moment, or what song do I want to play at the moment?
Absolutely. They're all amazing in their own way. So, yeah, great. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for this. Please share the video and check out Sam's website. And Sam, you've got the last word here.
Okay. By the way, I didn't talk about the online festivals. I'll be at the North Georgia Foothills Online Festival this fall, and stick around. Sometime they'll be making announcements about Quarantine at the beginning of October.
Awesome. All right.
It has been a joy getting to talk with you, Mandy. Thank you so much
Nice
for
talking to you.
inviting me here.
Great. I had a great time, and we'll see you soon, hopefully.
Me too.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for watching, and thank you for the great questions.
All right. Bye-bye.